bye week has come and gone, and the Tigers are now preparing for their game against the Richmond Spiders. Get ready, Tiger fans. The Tiger Football Report starts now.
For an athlete, there's nothing scarier than a torn ACL.
Athletes trust us with their care and their careers because we're a recognized leader in sports medicine.
Get back to your active life sooner with MedStar Sports Medicine.
Wise Market's ice cream plant is based in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, and it's locally owned and operated. We've been making our ice cream for nearly 50 years. We create roughly 70 flavors of ice cream right now. We use local ingredients, especially our cream, which is from our milk plant. The cream is what gives our ice cream a rich and creamy texture. Now, together with our customers, we've created a product called Peanut Butter Indulgence, which will be coming out this summer. It's a peanut butter ice cream with sea salt caramel swirl, chocolate-covered pretzel. How could you go wrong with that? Personally, I love our ice cream. If you come to our house at any given time, you'll find at least 5 packets of ice cream in our freezer. Our kids grew up eating Wise quality ice cream, and now we get to treat our grandchildren to it. It's been a pleasure for me to be tasting ice cream for over 40 years for Wise Markets, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Hello, Tiger fans, and welcome inside the Towson Sports Network studios for today's edition of the Tiger Football Report. I'm your host, Spiro Morekas. The Tigers had the weekend off with no game, and now we're focused on the number 6 Richmond Spiders. As always, I'm joined by the head coach of the Tigers, Rob Ambrose. Coach, you lost to Villanova last week, off this week, and then Richmond this week. You mentioned during last week's show that there were things you had to work on that you didn't feel went well against Villanova. At what point do you stop worrying about that and start worrying about the Richmond Spiders?
It's a little bit of a combination of both. That we were really inefficient, careless with the football in the red zone, 3 turnovers. That really takes away your chance of winning ball games. Spent a lot of time working on the red zone. And then defensively, we couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. Spent a lot of time working on 3rd down. Now, there were some other things that we did in general. Those are generalistic things that we needed to enhance our game. And then we turned our sights on Richmond relatively early. You can't dwell on the past. You really, really can't. So the kind of standard rule is that once we get through the Sunday after a game, whether it was beating the New York Giants or the Little Giants or losing, that the game is over. We have to move on to the next one. So learn from the past, but keep moving forward.
Richmond, as we mentioned, number 6 in the country. They played this past week against Colgate at home. They were coming off a bad loss to Stony Brook. They were in a battle with Colgate. They were down early. They came back and won. Their quarterback, Lauletta, is a really, really good quarterback. But you don't have to deal with just him now. All of a sudden, they have the CAA Rookie of the Week in Xavier Goodall, who rushed for over 120 yards. First rookie or freshman for Richmond to rush for over 100 yards since 1991. And then they got a wide receiver, Brian Brown, who just set the school record for most yards in a career and most touchdowns in a career. So it's not a one-headed monster you got to worry about, is it?
Not at all. Well, Kyle's an extremely, extremely good quarterback. That we had followed his career through high school. Mr. Brown is one of those wideouts that Richmond seems to come up with all the time that can have a great year and probably break the game. Though, if you ask any coach in the conference, when they heard that Richmond had lost their tailback, they're like, oh, well, maybe they'll be, no, they just had another one. It took a week to find him, but they got it. No, it's, in the conference calls that we had this week and the coaches, everybody pretty much had the same thing. Once you get to the games in conference, you can throw the schedules out, throw the rankings out. None of that stuff means anything. Ask William and Mary this week versus Elon. It doesn't matter. And conference play is conference play, and the records mean nothing. There's too many good players. There's too many good coaches. So you got to go on the road, and that's a tough thing to do, to win on the road in this league. But our guys are looking forward to hitting someone else.
Albany, who was picked to finish near the bottom of the league, they're in the top 25 all of a sudden. So nobody would have predicted that William and Mary would lose to Elon at home or Richmond would lose to Stony Brook. I mean, it's been topsy-turvy already, and we're not even 30% of the way through the schedule.
The coaches say it all the time because we know. We know the kids. We basically all recruit similar guys, or at least we know who's recruiting who. And we know each other's staffs. We know who the good coaches are, and there are no bad coaches in this league. And there's a ton of great players, and history has bore that out. I think the fan bases and even the other conferences now look at our conference like, wow, like how do they even survive? And it's kind of crazy, but it is. It's depth, it's backups, and it's who can come out of this thing the healthiest at the end. And it's going to be another crazy year in the CAA.
All right, speaking of health, how did your team come out of Villanova, and how are they heading into Richmond?
Knock on wood, one of the things that I worked diligently on last year was going through our schedule and finding a way, taking the kids knowing the kids that we have, knowing the limitations physically we have in our injuries, and finding a way to get them as far as possible, as healthy as possible. And I'm looking at an injury report that, we're almost to October now, and it's never looked this good. So we're keeping them healthy. Our strength conditioning and training room staff's doing a great job with these guys, and putting this in position to be able to play with a loaded deck every week. So the kids are excited. I'm excited. The only part is we're not there yet.
Well, the schedule maker didn't do you any favors by having the first two games on the road, but you get a victory at Richmond, and now the back end of your schedule is loaded with home games, which should be to the Tigers' advantage. I mean, you certainly don't want to start 0-2 in the conference. Nobody does. Mm-mm. But a victory here this week would really help you guys out a lot.
Well, it's hard, it's the beginning. So it's, you said, topsy-turvy for everybody, and whatever your preconceived notions, you might as well just throw those away. You got to it's not game by game, it's not quarter by quarter, it's play by play. And you just focus on the next 6 seconds of football, do your best, do it as a team, and be excited about it, and you're going to have a chance to be successful.
We talked about Richmond offensively. Defensively, what do they do?
They're a little bit different. They're kind of intricate in the front and the back, and they've learned how to match it up pretty good. They're very strong. They're very athletic. And they got great team speed. What they don't let you do is run around them. They don't let you beat them with width. They keep everything in, kind of cage you in, and bend, don't break, don't give up huge, big plays. They'll give you 4, but they're not giving you 40. And getting a big play on them is a really hard thing to do. So we're going to have to be very efficient offensively.
One thing you have done in the first 3 games, you have had big plays. And I know you hope that continues. But at the same time, you need the 4 or 5-yard plays also instead of a -1 or a -2. Mm-hmm.
Well, the longer we have the ball, the longer they don't have the ball. And they're in a very explosive offense. They're tools everywhere, great players everywhere, and they know how to utilize them very well. It's proven. So, like I said, we're going to have to play good defense to stop them. But we're going to have to play good offense to stop them. We're going to play our style offense and keep the ball out of their great players' hands and find a way to score more points than them.
All right, so the Tigers and the Spiders will kick off at 3:30 inside Robbins Stadium. I'll also have the call starting at 3:15 on 104.9, along with former head coach Gordy Combs. As we do every week, I'm going to throw a name out at you, a guy that either you played with or you coached here at Towson. This one I think is going to be easy for you to come up with superlatives anyway.
Okay.
Tony Vincent, running back from the early 90s.
Oh, wow. Great speed, great strength, great vision, great balance, and a great guy. And I really didn't quite understand that until he was done playing. Then he got picked up by the Chargers, and right before he went to rookie camp, he came over to my apartment, and we dissected their playbook versus what we did and what they had and the differences in terminology. And so he could trade off from one to another. And as we talked about, now this is a guy who just got drafted and he's achieving his dream, and I was a low-level slap assistant. And as humble as the day is long, grateful to have a chance to play in the league, grateful to be in this program and represent it as well as he did. There's a story. And we were playing Bucknell, and we were beating him pretty good. And somebody gets on the headset, and they go, hey, Tony's like 5 yards away from breaking some record. We're like, all right, we'll leave him in for one more run. And he ran for 80 yards and a touchdown. And they got back on the headset, and they go, Rob, I don't know if you know this, but with 80 yards. Well, now he's like 20 yards away from some national record or something. Like, no, we're not taking enough. But yeah, he was a great player. Great player, great man.
Could have rushed for 500 against Morgan. Had 363, I think, and didn't even play in the fourth quarter. But anyway, also the first Tiger to rush for 2,000 yards in a season, and he did it in 10 games. Not 11, 12, or 13. So that will do it for us on this edition of the Tiger Football Report. Thanks for joining us, and for head coach Rob Ambrose, I'm Spiro Morekas. See you next week, and as always, go Tigers.